Global elites are preparing for a cyber attack to shut down the world economy. Should we pay attention to this training exercise they're doing? In 2019, these same global elites, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, World Economic Forum, CDC, NBC News, and other progressive groups did a little simulation called Event 201. You may have heard of it. In the fall of 2019, they asked, what if a coronavirus pandemic hit? How should the world respond? It seemed like an eerie coincidence to many of us when an actual global pandemic of an actual coronavirus hit just 3 months later. So if this same cast of characters were to hold another simulation of a different sort of worldwide catastrophe this year, I think we should all pay attention to what they're practicing because, just like Event 201, it might come true, and sooner than any of us think. That's what we're talking about today, and we're starting right now. This year's event is called Cyber Polygon, and it will be hosted by the World Economic Forum starting in July of 2021. Here's what they have to say about it. Quote, Cyber Polygon is a unique cybersecurity event that combines the world's largest technical training exercise for corporate teams and an online conference featuring senior officials from international organizations and leading corporations. Sounds an awful lot like the cyber version of Event 201, doesn't it? And as a Christian, I find it interesting that 3 months later, we will find ourselves at the beginning of the biblical High Holy Days and Rosh Hashanah. 3 months happens to be the length of time after Event 201 that the real pandemic began. So, could something else happen 3 months after this training exercise? Fall 2021 is a date that many who view 2028 as the year for the return of Christ think could be the start of the 70th week of Daniel. It's 7 years earlier than the date they're picking of 2028. Now, this channel doesn't date set like that. We believe we are entering the season of Christ's return, but we do not set specific dates. But we must admit, this timing is very interesting. So let's get back to Cyber Polygon. Partners of this event include many world banks, Visa, Interpol, which is the international police, telecommunication companies, IBM. It's an interesting group. The purpose is to simulate a cyber attack which will shut down supply chains, essentially cutting off water, food, and electricity to a portion of the world. Most of you don't know it, but this year, my community in southeast North Carolina experienced a shutdown of gasoline due to what we were told was a cyber attack to the Colonial Pipeline, which supplies most of the gas to the eastern seaboard of the USA. Accidents happened, shouting, fights ensued as greedy and frightened citizens of my community jostled to fill up their tanks. By the end of the day, there wasn't a drop of gas to be found in most of my hometown of 150,000 or the 3-county region. Which is quite interesting because the Colonial Pipeline doesn't supply gas to our particular region. Let me say that again. The Colonial Pipeline wasn't shut off to my region. We had just as much gas as we ever did. Being coastal, all gasoline is shipped to Wilmington, North Carolina via cargo ships that dock at our port. So the shortage in my hometown was 100% demand driven. Our governor declared a state of emergency the night before the gas lines, and hoarders drank up every drop of existing supply. But within a day or so, we had all the gas we needed, and it seemed like everything returned to normal. It was a very strange event that many online commentators considered a false flag event. This channel doesn't take a position on that, but let's look at what we do know about it. On Friday, May 7th, Colonial Pipeline said that a cyber attack forced the company to proactively close down operations and freeze their IT systems. They later said that a ransomware attack from a group known as DarkSide, wait a minute, you can't make this up, DarkSide? Really? Sounds like it came from Marvel Comics, but let's keep going. So, this dark site first surfaced on Russian language hacking forums back in August 2020. DarkSide is a ransomware platform that cyber criminals can use to infect companies with ransomware and collect extortion payments from them. DarkSide adheres to the current bad guy best practice of double extortion. A ransom for both a digital key to unlock the files and servers and a separate ransom in exchange for a promise to destroy all the data that they stole from the victim. And Colonial paid a ransom, $4.4 million in Bitcoin from what we've heard, to these hackers. Of course, this digital cloak and dagger stuff goes both ways. Right after this event, digital security firms identified the Bitcoin wallet used by DarkSide to collect the ransom payment from its victims. DarkSide had its access to servers taken away, and the cryptocurrency wallets were emptied. DarkSide also blamed, quote, pressure from the U.S. and shut down permanently. Really? That was very interesting and convenient. This channel found a couple things interesting about this attack. First, that an incredibly important piece of infrastructure, a pipeline supplying gas to the eastern half of the USA, could be so easily hacked. We were just told that the election software used in 2020 couldn't be hacked. Yet this event seems to say an almost more important infrastructure could be hacked very easily. So maybe hacking is easier than we've been told. Or maybe this was a false flag event, a created event to test out what reactions would be. We will likely never know. But it does point to the potential vulnerability of our world's supply chains. What happens if the hacker wants to permanently shut down supply chains and isn't interested in just Bitcoin? What would happen if electricity and gasoline supplies were shut down in your nation by a coordinated cyber attack that left you without food and water? As part of his end-time prophecy, Jesus told us that there will be famines in diverse places. Matthew 24:7. Despite Jesus' warnings, however, are you prepared to feed your family and neighbors in just such a situation? Has your pastor preached on this topic in the last few years? And I bet the answer is no to both questions. Yet this Colonial Pipeline event and the fact that a group of global elites are actually practicing and preparing this summer for just such an event should make you pause and think maybe you should do something about this now while you still have time. Maybe we have 3 months. You can't stop the global elites from plans to globally reset the economies of the world and whatever worldwide disasters might come upon the world in order to bring that about. But you can prepare for this very thing that Jesus warned us will happen. Famines in diverse places. Now, when Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream, he predicted 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Interestingly, my family has now been preparing for the last 7 years to have food and water supplies. I find that an interesting coincidence also. And for all those years, our ministry has been preaching the need for our followers to be prepared for all the things Jesus said are coming upon the earth. You may have thought that there was nothing to prepare for, that a rapture would whisk you away before anything bad happened. Well, there is a rapture coming. But that doesn't mean that lots of bad stuff won't happen first. The coronavirus pandemic has proved that, or should have proved that to us all once and for all. So we need to be ready. But how? Click right here to keep watching, to learn the biblical basis for being ready for a famine and the practical things that you can do to be prepared right now. This is Nelson, and I'll see you there.